Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Could I declare that, or acknowledge country before we start? Could I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Wadandi people of the Noongar Nation, paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. Can I declare the meeting open at 5:01 and welcome the public gallery and those watching online. And we're meeting Wednesday the 27th of September, as I say, 5:01 in the Shire Chamber at the Shire of Donnybrook, Balingup. Could I advise that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council Policy EM/CP2, and to further state that the meeting is being live streamed and digitally recorded in accordance with Council Policy. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without permission of the chairperson, whilst every endeavour has been made to only record those who are actively participating in the meeting. Loud comments or noises from the gallery may be picked up on the recording. And could I acknowledge those present in terms of the table tonight? I'm Gail McGowan, I'm the Commissioner. To my left is Kim Dolcedelli, who is, as of this week, Acting Chief Executive Officer. Ross Marshall, the Director of Operations, to my right there. Belinda Richards, I'm delighted to say with a little bit of arm twisting, is acting as the Director Corporate and Community for the time being. Will do a wonderful job, so thank you for stepping into that role, Belinda. Lauren Clifford, the equally talented Acting Manager of Executive Services, who I think has been doing an enormous amount of great work recently as well. And Sam Farquhar, the Administration Officer, Executive Services. And can I, as I say, welcome everyone in the public gallery. Apologies from Ben Rose. Ben proceeded on leave as of Friday. He will be on leave until his resignation takes effect in late November, and I'll cover the details both in my presiding members' comments and in the item that deals with that. We have item 2.2, no approved leave of absence, and 2.3, no applications for leave of absence. I will do a bit of an update as part of my presiding member comments. And can I begin by formally welcoming our 4 newest Australian citizens following a citizenship ceremony that we held just before this meeting. So to Sue, Beverly, I think Ben and Jimmy, who have all become Australian citizens this afternoon. They've elected to go off and celebrate their citizenship rather than sit through the council meeting, but I'm sure that you'll get to meet them later. As I say, can I also reiterate my welcome to those in the gallery this evening who have put themselves forward for election. So I can see Lisa, I can see Vivian, I can see Grant. So the 3 of you, congratulations. But the 17 candidates provide for that choice and diversity, which is all anyone can hope for. And our eligible ratepayers and residents should have received their ballot papers in the mail, and I'd urge them to exercise their right to vote. And I thank each of those of you who have expressed a willingness to serve and wish you the very best of luck in the election. I'd also encourage people to take the time to attend one of the forthcoming Meet the Candidates sessions being held in Yabrup. I think that's Friday night. Donnybrook next week, I think the 4th, and Balingup on the 10th, to hear directly from candidates. Alternatively, tune in to Donnybrook Balingup Community Radio, because I think Barry Green is hoping to hear the candidates present their case for election. And I just noticed Shendell from Preston Press in the gallery as well, and I think Shendell is doing profiles on everyone as well. So there is lots of information out there, and I encourage people to avail themselves of it. This evening's meeting is being held under the Shire of Donnybrook Balingup caretaker policy, and the same will apply to the October meeting, which I note will be held at 5 p.m. on Thursday the 19th of October rather than the traditional Wednesday evening. And I'd also remind people that a resolution was passed earlier in the year rescheduling the November and December meetings to the Donnybrook Shire Council Chamber. So Lisa, thank you for clarifying that in earlier emails. By way of updates on activity, I would advise that the West Australian Treasury Corporation has formally advised of the approval of the loan up to 2.9 million for the VC Mitchell Park Precinct project. We're yet to be advised of the outcome of the request to the state government for top-up funding. At this stage, the go-ahead for going to be moving past Whole Point 3, I think Whole Point 3, Roscoe, has been satisfied, and demolition work will be beginning the precinct around the middle of October. I think there was a meeting today of the consultative group on colour schemes and all sorts of other things as well. So thanks to that group for that work. The timing of the referendum on the Voice to Parliament and the local government elections means there will be polls held on 2 consecutive weekends in October. The WA Electoral Commission will be conducting the local government election on behalf of the Shire of Donnybrook-Balingup and virtually almost every other council in the state. The introduction of optional preferential voting might make the count process a little slower this year, especially with the larger number of candidates. The WAC has information online for those wishing to understand more about optional preferential voting, and whilst I can say from personal experience, having watched it all, there probably won't be any Academy Award performances in terms of acting. It's informative and good, so it's worth having a look at. Tonight, I wasn't one of those people doing anything, so not at all. Now, tonight I intend to approve a recommendation to formally appoint Kim Dolcidelli, who's sitting on my left here, to the role of Acting CEO for a period of up to 8 weeks. Mr Dolcidelli has kindly agreed to act in the role. As I said, Mr Rose has now proceeded on leave and will formally resign his position at the end of November. But I also want to advise of my intention to appoint a temporary CEO with effect from 13th of November 2023. I'm currently working through the process, and once the contractual arrangements are agreed, I will need to convene a special council meeting for the sole purpose of approving the contract. I anticipate this will occur in the next week or two and may need to be done electronically. Suffice to say that I feel fortunate to have identified an experienced former local government CEO who is prepared to support the new council through the transition process to appointing a long-term CEO. And while I'm not in a position to identify the individual, I can share with you that the person has some 3 decades, or actually more than 3 decades of experience as a CEO, including running councils significantly larger than Donnybrook-Balingup. So my term as Commissioner will conclude at a time to be determined in November. Once the results of the election are determined, the formalities for getting the new council on board begin. So there'll be a formal induction/training program on the Monday following the election, followed by a special meeting of council on the 26th of October. At that special council meeting, the new councillors will, among other things, elect a president and deputy president. That should make me relatively redundant, though I've been asked by the Director General if I might consider making myself available for a transition period. This is yet to be finalised, but most probably will be an arrangement whereby I'm engaged by the department on an hourly basis as needed, and a lot of that depends on what happens with the election and with the transition to the new CEO. On other matters, a number of staff, as well as myself, attended the WA Local Government Association conference last week, or the end of the week before. It was an informative few days with some great speakers. On the Sunday afternoon, I attended a session for mayors and shire presidents by Dominic Thurbon, who was a futurist, talking about how challenging it is to plan for the future. One of his comments I found especially relevant was that the skill needed is not the ability to predict the future, but how accurate you can be about the assumptions on which you base your predictions. For instance, he spoke about the emergence of artificial intelligence and the rise of ChatGPT. And while developments like the internet can be measured over years, ChatGPT as an artificial intelligence platform reached 100 million users worldwide in 2 months. Consequently, he reminded us that the better the question, the better the answer, and the better the world will work. And if you don't know what ChatGPT is, ask your kids. I mean, when I was, as an aside, when I was preparing for my investiture as the Chancellor of Murdoch University, I downloaded ChatGPT and told it to write me an investiture speech for becoming a Chancellor of Murdoch University. You might want to test it yourself to see how scarily, not accurate, it was general, but it still is quite mind-blowing. He also gave a great example of strategic planning in London in 1901, where it was determined that 1 million new horses would be needed, while they largely ignored the arrival of the motor vehicle and the existence of 75,000 cars. So this is especially relevant in a region like ours, where the challenge of the transition to renewable energy sources is likely to impact large areas of the Shire. So, things that we're seeing as emerging industries now are right here with us, and we need to be very, very conscious of that. The other quote I particularly liked was, "In the world dominated by social media, we need to constantly remind ourselves that while everyone is entitled to their own opinions, they are not entitled to their own facts." On Friday night, I was fortunate to be invited down to the opening of the colour exhibition in the arcade in Donnybrook. It was a great evening with some fabulous works of art on display. With the assistance of Susie Delaporte and Barry Green, we chose 3 pieces of Shire acquisitions, so congratulations to go to all those involved. I was struck driving down on Friday afternoon and then again yesterday. On Friday, the early blossoms were beginning to appear. Fast forward a couple of days to last night, and many trees are in full bloom. By the time school returns in another week, there'll no doubt be a riot of colour, and before we know it, the summer fruit season will be here. Finally, can I acknowledge Kira Strange, a member of the Shire staff who has advised of her resignation to accept a role in the private sector in Perth. Kira has led the planning team at the Shire for about 3.5 years and more recently branched out into a more general role. She is destined for a great future, and I look forward to hopefully seeing her return to working in government over coming years. The paper tonight on the finalisation of the Regional Waste Management Services arrangement is a great outcome, and from our Shire's perspective, reflects many hours of work put in by Kira and the team to get the best possible outcome for the community. This sort of effort exemplifies much of the behind-the-scenes work that goes into what the community might only see as bins getting emptied. So well done to Kira and the team there. So that's my little update. I'll talk a little bit more about the appointment process for one of the questions on notice. So, right, public question time. I do have one question. Sorry, Grant Patrick had asked a question previously. The response is in your packs there. That was, and I think Lisa had emailed me about that one as well. That was around the sorts of things that were put forward to Taliesin. That list is repeated there, and the details. So, Grant, that's that information. Probably again a reminder, as I said last time, should the sort of an annual arrangement be made with Taliesin, it's really worth the Shire doing a fair bit of planning around the sorts of things and prioritisation of what's needed. The second, the next question came from Sandra Hoff from Ferguson Road in Loudon. It's a 2-part question, but firstly, can I thank Sandra, because I think she's been a strong supporter of seeing the women on the admin team progress. So, and it is good to see the talent there. But the first question is, who has the local government minister and yourself chosen as the temporary CEO for the Shire of Donnybrook Balingup? You state it's for an initial 6-month period. Does this indicate a longer stay? So the formal response to that is, while the Minister Department and the Shire leadership team were consulted about the available options, including utilising internal appointments, the choice on the temporary CEO was mine alone. Once a contract is finalised, I'll be able to name the person, and it'll be up to the new council to determine the time frame for the recruitment of a new long-term CEO. But a little bit of context for that as well. Yes, certainly I spoke to the department and to the minister once we knew Ben was going around, and that was also in the context of not knowing how many people would put their hand up for election as well. As I think I reported last meeting, the Minister's view was that he'd still like to see a council established even if we didn't get a sufficient number of nominations. Well, we've averted that one, so that's a great thing to see. I also talked about, the fact that the timing was such that Ben had indicated he wanted to go on leave, and Kim and the leadership team had indicated quite strongly to me that they thought, for the sake of stability and a new council coming on board, it would be good to have an experienced temporary CEO. Kim agreed to, again with a bit of arm twisting, to act until we could get someone else in place. I'm just going through that process. As I say, I'll have to have a special council meeting to make the appointment, but I'm close. We're just trying to work up a contract, but the incoming temporary CEO, or the proposed incoming temporary CEO, has suggested that there be a clause in the contract that provides that the new council could give 1 month's notice and terminate that arrangement, so it'll leave a fair bit of decision making in the hands of the new council. But equally, it would be my intention to word the contract that the appointment would be until such time as the incoming council selects and a new CEO starts, because that would appear logical to me, but it gives the council the choice there. So the second part of the question was, please explain why, if an advertisement is placed for the CEO position at the end of October 2023, we couldn't expect a new appointment to start in January. There seems to be numerous people willing to apply for local government CEO positions if we note the number of applicants applying in other shires. The formal response is the new council won't be sworn in until late October. A special council meeting will be held to swear in that council on 26th of October, where a shire president and deputy will be elected. I believe it's more appropriate for them rather than me to determine the qualities they want in a CEO and manage the recruitment process accordingly. The incoming council will be required to operate in accordance with the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries Local Government Operational Guideline on CEO recruitment and selection, performance review and termination. I'll include the link in the minutes, which sets out the process. And noting that the council doesn't meet in January and most CEO contracts require a 3-month notice period, it just, you know, and given we will have a brand new council and the wishes of the existing staff, it just made more sense that we go through. But I do note, and I will note when we get to that agenda item, there's an existing policy plus the caretaker policy that had to be taken into account. So thank you to Sandra for that. I would note also that at 4:59, I received an email from Mr. Bailey asking some questions around governance. I haven't had a chance to read them and consider it's not appropriate to respond to those on the fly tonight, as I say, not having even read them, so I will wait and take those on notice. Do we have any other public questions from the gallery? Come on, Lisa. No. Come up to the... I'm conscious there will be a lot of people online, so if you can just start from the beginning. Thanks, Lee.
Well, I guess first of all, it's really great to see Belinda sitting there, and welcome. I think you've really done the hard yards, and it's awesome that you're taking a spot up at the front of the table. And also to you, Kim. Yeah, I'm glad that you've taken on that role as a temporary or acting CEO. I kind of hoped that it would be more long term. But anyway, sorry, that was just a little bit of digressing. And it's always good to see you up there, Lauren, as well. Everyone. My question today is just around the biannual updates, because I was just trying to make a little bit of sense about where they were heading and where they were going. And I just wondered whether it was a formatting question that I'm actually asking, because it's got at the top of it what the plan item is. Oh, and first of all, they're great documents because it really does show where we're heading and how we're heading there, and you know what we've achieved and what not to, because I think it's very important to be looking at plans. But yeah, so it says that there's the item, and then there's the projects and milestones update, and also then the status of that too. But on the second column, which is the projects and milestones, everything just has a little tick box on it. Whether it's done, it's deferred or achieved, whatever, you know, and I'm just wondering if that's actually a formatting error, that it was perhaps there's a link that goes to that or something there, because it's just a box with a tick in it.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. I'll get Lauren to answer in a moment, because Lauren, it is good work, and it's Lauren is the chief cat herder for that piece of work. But it's worth also noting that the council plan is a really important document, as a guiding document that sets out what council intends to do and is followed until changed. But Lauren, can you explain why ticks and etc.?
Hi, thanks, through the chair. The tick just means it was in the 23-24 financial, or the 20, whatever the year was, the financial year. So if the column has got the wrong information, we can definitely update that. But the tick is just to say whether it's in that financial year. And there should be another column which shows the colour, and that should say where it's at with regards to in progress, completed, or if it's been monitored or to be deferred.
So, Lauren, the actual plan covers how long a period? Is it 5 years, or is it generally? So,
It's a 10-year plan.
10-year plan, that's right. Yeah, so, yeah.
Just through the chair, if I may, Commissioner, I just wanted to add a comment in relation to the council plan and some work that, thanks to Lauren and Belinda, this year, in terms of completion of the annual budget and through the annual budget process, what we actually did was we referenced the actual budget document back to the council plan, so that there was, you know, a real line that could be drawn between the two documents. Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we're due for a desktop review of the council plan around March. Yes. So what we'll do is we'll do the reverse. We'll reference the council plan back to the budget as well, so that it's all well and good to have these things in the council plan, but to see the actual direct linkage and where funds are being provided or where it's provided for in the budget, I think is also very important.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for that, because I know that was a part that had been noted that was missing. Like, it is good to have a plan, but then you need the dollars to attach to it as well, yeah. And I'm also wondering if I can ask another question, if that's okay. You know, like the list that was provided to Taliesin in regard to what items might be funded, or looking at that too, I wondered how much that came off the council plan as well. I know there are some direct links to that too, but obviously if we're going to get a little bit of a gift of some funds, it would be good to start to, you know, take some of these things away off there and then loosen up the budget again as well. So was that considered when the list went to Taliesin as well, about how much was in the council plan and what we could take off that list? Yeah. And surplus budget would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. In part, yes, or, you know, in primary, anything on there, but equally the time frame was short, and as I think I mentioned when I responded to your email, because it actually didn't come through any formal process, it wasn't an endorsed thing. Taliesin at that stage had wanted a list to go to their board, and they were provided with a list. They had been quite clear at that stage that they were looking for things that were substantially progressed for this first year. And then, so one of the handover items for the new council will be really around what that process might look like and the linkages back to the plan. So it'll be a really good opportunity to tie all those pieces together, as well as probably do that, you know, sort of the review of the plan. So thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And then that way we are all working towards, because if we put in projects that we haven't actually planned for, then we can start to come really unstuck with our asset maintenance and our workforce plan and all of those other things too. And it really does cause a little bit of stress for the staff trying to balance all of those projects. So I can understand that too. So thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Now, Sian, I think, did you say, no, you got, no, oh, I thought you said you had a question. Not only were you on time, but you didn't have any questions. Thank you. All right, we shall move on then. So item 6 covers 6.1 petition, 6.2 presentations and 6.3 deputations, of which there are none for any of those. So I intend to move those on block, so thank you. We now move to item 7, the confirmation of the minutes. We have the ordinary meeting of council, Commissioner of the 23rd of August 2023. Minutes of the ordinary meeting of council. The executive recommendation that the minutes from the ordinary meeting of council, Commissioner, held on 23rd of August 2023 be confirmed as a true and accurate record. So I shall move and carry that as recommended. 7.2, the special meeting of council on the 30th of August. The executive recommendation is that the minutes from the special meeting of council, Commissioner, held 30th of August be confirmed as a true and accurate record, and I will move and carry that. I will just make a note, at the risk of embarrassing Mr Dolcedelli here, just people have made some great supportive comments about the staff, including Kim tonight. But we have had a number of instances where our staff have probably been under a little bit of pressure, and sometimes the pressure can actually take its toll on staff. Now, Kim has adapted some lifestyle issues, but we had Mr Dolcedelli take an involuntary trip to test the facilities of emergency at Busselton Hospital just after that. And so I just urge people to think a little bit about the sorts of commentary they make from time to time, because people are human, and I'm not saying that was the singular cause, but I would say it's a contributing factor when nonsense is put out there. So please be respectful of staff. And as I say, sorry for embarrassing you, but you're just my current example, but there are others. So I'm just, making mention of that so that it's very much an awareness thing, because I think both incoming council and our staff deserve support and respect. We'll move on to the minutes of committee meetings, of which there are none. We then move to item 9.1. Item 9.1.1, Goodwood Road dedication of land. Again, this is a fairly routine one, and the recommendation is that the council, the commissioner, endorses the dedication of land being acquired by Main Roads WA, as shown on Main Roads WA land dealing plans 2022-02-0597 and 2022-02-0598 as a road pursuant to Section 56 of the Land Administration Act 1997, and instructs the Chief Executive Officer to write to Main Roads WA advising of the endorsement outlined under point 1 above. So I intend to move and carry that. Thank you. 9.1.2, request upgrading of Jays Road. This was a petition that we referred to, I think, at the last ordinary council meeting. It wasn't quite in the format, but we said we would deal with it as an agenda item for this meeting, which has now been done. The recommendation is that the council, or the commissioner, notes and appreciates the petitioner's acknowledgement of recent Shire upgrading works on a 3-kilometre section of Jays Road, Balingup. To instruct the Chief Executive Officer, we just need to put the R on officer there, Sam, to inform the petitioners, and they shouldn't have an apostrophe for possessiveness there, they should just at the end. Sorry, I'm being very picky here. That the adopted 2023/2024 Shire of Donnybrook Balingup annual budget includes an allocation for the renewal and upgrading of a 1-kilometre section of Jays Road between Walter Street and Mall, M-A-U-G-R, who are my Balingup people that can, M-A-U-G-E-R Road in Balingup. 3, instruct the Chief Executive Officer to inform the petitioners, and again the errant apostrophe, that the remaining sections of Jays Road will continue to be considered for renewal and upgrading works on a priority basis against all other infrastructure requirements of the Shire through the annual capital works budget process. So I intend to move and carry that with those couple of little typos. 9.1.3, Waste Management Services release of confidential resolution and general update. As I said in the acknowledgement to Kira Strange at the beginning, this may now look relatively simple, but a massive amount of work went into this over a period of months, and I think involved Steve Potter as well when he was here. But it's involved quite a number of the staff, and under Mr Marshall's watch. But it was one where 7 councils banded together to actually go out for the second time. I think the previous council had supported, or one of the previous councils, I think had about 10 years ago, had supported the joined up approach. They did it again, and now it had to be dealt with as a confidential item until such time as all of those 7 councils had approved and the tender was let. But the recommendation is that the council commissioner formally release Council Resolution 48/23 from the confidential item determined at the special council meeting of the Commissioner from 2nd of May 2023. To acknowledge the actions undertaken by relevant staff as per Council Resolution 48/23 as they relate to the execution of contracts with Cleanaway Pty Limited as the preferred respondent for tender COB/5427 Southwest Regional Waste Management Services. 3, acknowledge the updates, including on the Shire website, and commitment of staff to provide more electronic communications regarding waste services for the Shire of Donnybrook, Bailey Up, and I intend to move and carry that. But as I say, if you actually look at all of those items, and I draw your attention in particular to page 18 of the item where it talks around some of the changes between 21-22 and 22-23 and 23-24. And the items of, individual waste being dealt with, it does emphasise the critical issue, and then going on to page 20, the critical issue of dealing with waste, and this is an issue that's not going to go away, and changing behaviours as much as anything else to minimise or reduce or avoid waste will be a critical part of keeping costs under control in the future. So thank you to the staff for that. 9.2, I think we get to now with a bit of luck. Yes. Okay, the accounts for payment for August 2023. The schedule of accounts paid under delegation, delegation number 1.2.23 is presented for public information. That's at attachment 9.2.1 bracket 1. 9.2.2, the monthly financial report of July 2023. The monthly financial report for July 2023 is attached, 9.2.2 bracket 1. The monthly financial report for the period ended July 2023 be received, and I will particularly acknowledge Belinda in this, because last time I was here, I think with Mr Dolcedelli resting up in hospital, Belinda was coping with annual reports, annual financial statements, monthly statements, preparing for her CPA exams that are coming up how soon? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, etc. So I did this, led the team through this, so well done, Belinda. That leads me on to 9.2.3, budget amendment request for the annual budget. Not surprisingly, given what I've just outlined, there are a couple of little things that need clarification through the annual budget process, mostly, as I understand, Belinda, because we were advised of grant amounts or grant payments later after the budget had been prepared. So there are some adjustments there. So the recommendation is that the Council, the Commissioner, 1, approves the following budget amendments resulting in a projected closing surplus position of $90,384. And that's the chart of accounts 1031 on the local road grants, 0091 on the grants, financial assistant grants, 1373 biodiversity management program grants, 7252 biodiversity management project, 0564 council chamber car park ceiling, and transfer from the building reserve. And I think I also noted in there somewhere, is that the one where we also had the the biodiversity management program? I was going to draw the attention to the fact that that's in there because our environmental officer Claire Palmer successfully applied for a grant of $20,000 for this, and I think Claire led a process last year that got a significant grant, so that was a good job done there too. So I shall move and carry that. So the net impact, or increase the surplus, as I said, is 9384 minus 9384. So I shall, as I say, move and carry that one, and thanks to Belinda, and good luck with your exams. Now, this is the item that I mentioned, which in many instances would... Oh, what did I miss?
I've missed something.
Oh.
But I'm going to do it right now before the item is discussed.
Oh,
My apologies, I have missed something, so I'll do it before item 9.3.1 is being discussed, in so much that as I am the subject of this item, I have a financial interest and I shall leave the room.
thank you, Kim. I should have picked that one up too, so we should. We'll call you back shortly. And yes, this is an interesting one because probably ordinarily we'd deal with it. It'd be one of those sorts of things that would be dealt with as a confidential item, but I felt it was important for this one to be out in the public arena. So as I say, we note the council policy HRCP for temporary employment or appointment of a chief executive officer, which is as the attachment, and the council policy around caretaker conventions. Now, just by way of explanation, that council policy does talk about advertising for temporary engagement, and it also has, and I'm not quite sure of the rationale it may, and I'm not sure how relevant the rationale remains. Must have been a point in time thing. It has a succession planning structure where ordinarily when there's an acting appointment made, it actually goes from the first, I think the first option is the Director of Operations, which is the position that Mr Marshall holds, and then it goes on from there. I'd probably be recommending to the incoming council, regardless, that that's something you might want to look at, because for a number of things, it's not always the most, the most appropriate appointment at that point in time, but also probably is a bit limiting in terms of providing some necessary experience for people to whilst I've had due regard for the policy, I felt that the issue of timing was important. So then, so that's noting the policy. Then 2, appoint Kim Dolcidelli, Director Corporate and Community, as Acting Chief Executive Officer for a period of up to 8 weeks, where he will be remunerated at 100% of the cash component of the substantive Chief Executive Officer total reward package. And again, the policy says I think the remuneration is at 90%, 90 or 80%, I can't remember which. And I just felt that it was it was a circumstance that justified the payment of the full 100% of the acting remuneration. And I'd also note that the policy defines, there's terminology around acting and around temporary CEO. So for the sake of, I suppose, simplicity, we've used acting CEO for the period where Kim is appointed, and then we'll use temporary CEO for the longer term. I do intend to add an additional point 3 to that recommendation, which is now up there in yellow on your screen. Yes. So note the intention of council, the Commissioner, to enter into a contract with an experienced local government CEO to perform the role of temporary CEO from 13th of November 2023 until a new CEO is appointed or council terminates the arrangement with a minimum of 1 calendar month's notice. So on that basis, I think that allows for good governance to continue and some stability and support. So thank you in particular to the leadership team for being so open with expressing their views and helping support that through. So I intend to move and carry that. So that one's done. Oh, yeah, get the acting CEO back again, please. Thank you. So congratulations to Mr Dolcidelli, who has now been formally appointed as acting CEO for up to 8 weeks. Yeah. And can I also say that one of the really nice things from my point of view is when I did meet with the leadership team, they made the point that, that while Kim is acting, they see themselves supporting him as a team working together. So I think that's a sign of the professionalism of the staff. So 10 elected member motions of which previous notice has been given, there are nil. New business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of the meeting, there are nil. Now, I am going to close the meeting to deal with the award of a tender for the Cundanup Kirrup Road upgrade. I'll go through a little bit of detail, not much detail, but basically there will be an amended recommendation to this, which we will make public once the tender is awarded. But there was a certain amount budgeted for the request for tender. Went out for a bigger section. Kim, correct me if I get this wrong. A longer section of road. Main Roads have come back and said they are likely to approve funding for the larger section of the upgrade. So the provision here is that the contract will be awarded in line with the contract evaluation. Certainly for the initial amount, but probably for the larger amount for the longer bit of upgrade. Is that a fair enough summation of what I'm? Yeah.
Yeah, if I may, through you, Commissioner. Yeah, look, essentially the actual awarding of the contract is tied to the successful application for the additional funding. We've certainly had the feedback from MRWA that will definitely be forthcoming, but until we have that in absolute black and white, then effectively the awarding of the contract is conditional on the completion of that formalisation of the awarding of the grant funding. It's just a bit of a coverall that we don't commit to a contract and then all of a sudden we don't get the grant funding that's been promised. I'm sure that at the end of the day it will be forthcoming. Main Roads Western Australia are very keen to see the full length of the scope of the project completed. So so that's what it's about. Yeah.
It all goes well for that. So thank you. So that's the matter I'll be dealing with in the confidential items. Just a reminder, I will then close the meeting, but a reminder that the next meeting is Thursday the 19th of October, commencing at 5 p.m. in the Shire Chambers here. So thank you for attending. We'll have one more meeting before the said elections, but hopefully everyone will have their votes in by then, and those people that either lose them, forget them or whatever, can come in person to the council chamber and the Bailing Up Library on Saturday the 19th, or they can come in before, Lauren, if they need. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, through the chair. They can come into the office at any time during business hours to be reissued a new pack, or they can go to the Bailing Up Library to be reissued a new pack during the opening hours of the Bailing Up Library.
And
and on the actual day of the election.
Yeah, on the day of the election, both places will be staffed, or just here? Yeah, just the Shire Chamber. And then that's all conducted, is it Linda, isn't it? Linda from the Electoral Commission. I think come 6 p.m. when polls close, the process of vote counting begins. It's likely the Electoral Commission has a wonderful computer program that can apparently deal with preferential voting. Fingers crossed, I think, at this stage. But there is a possibility, depending on what happens, that they may only get so far on the Saturday and have to complete it on Sunday. But I'm told that the intention is to try and complete Saturday, if not complete Sunday, which then allows that process for the new council laws to at least meet together and be briefed on the Monday. So all of the candidates have been given that timeline, and we'll continue to try and provide any information of that nature to all candidates so they're aware. So again, good luck to all, and thank you to those watching online. I'll now declare the meeting closed under the Section 5.2.3 2C, so that we can deal with the confidential item. Thank you. if you let me know when we're back live. Okay. All right, item 13, the closure. I advise that the next ordinary council meeting will be held on 19th of October 2023, commencing at 5 p.m. in the Shire of Donnybrook, Balingup Council Chamber. Again, noting that is Thursday, not Wednesday, the 19th, at 5 p.m. in Donnybrook. And I declare the meeting closed at 5:48. Thank you.